Right. So this is about the code which normally we use when we wants to validate data elements, especially data X12 file formats, etc. Because EDI 837 files or something. When you wants to use any kind of Excel file formats, if you want to validate any kind of data elements, this is what generally the code one to be understood with. Okay, so when it comes to the coding, understanding itself is concerned, whenever we try to write the code for validating the data elements, because verification and validation, wherein we need to update the core elements, core models, and all at the same time, whatever the core EDI transactions that we wants to be performed and all everything we have to be updated here, followed by the collections. After that, core models, etc., everything has to be updated. Next, when we are writing the code, it's always important wherein we have to update EDI X12 files. Whatever the X12 files we are using, those are all common. Majorly, whatever the kind of healthcare frameworks are we using, everything we have to be updated under the rages list. So these are the basic information that has to be updated over here. Next, when we wants to validate the external files and all, first of all, we have to mention the namespace where I am giving the namespace for EDI fabric.examples.x12. X12 is a validation of EDI I have taken because here this is a class we have taken because when we are write a program wherein you can write a direct program or else any class file can also be created because here we have taken a class wherein we are taking some class validation data elements and all. So this is a statement, right? So this is a statement I'm using. The statement as follows, like validating data elements, data types using basic Excel code set. They are invalidated the defaults and as less. So this is a statement. So when you are going to write any public static void basic information for especially for the kind of method that we are using for validating data elements, this is where generally we need to debug that first. Okay. So debug, we need to mention about the right lines, whatever the kind of method or as well as the basis we have used for the current methods, everything we have to be updated. Followed by this, we need to mention the streaming, right? So streaming of EDI streaming, we have to be updated. Wherein apart from the streaming of EDI updation, if there is any kind of configuration, we need to be updated. Because from old systems to the new application or any file formats we are using, that's where generally configuration we have to use. So plus, so that we are adding some configuration along with the test file path, everything we have to be updated in this. Next, apart from that, we need to create the variable declaration we have taken, right? So we have taken a purchase order wherein we need to edit the types of TS 850, right? So this is generally an off type which we have taken. Next, we need to create a for loop, right? So for each loop, we have taken variable as purchase order in the purchase order. Make sure this has to be validated by creating some message error context, or it can be an error context. Both anything can be taken. Next, we need to create a function for if, right? If function purchase order is valid out, right? So we need to mention about validation settings, whatever are important, everything we have to do. So we need to write down the if condition or else condition has to be updated for the purchase order to be maintained with. Next, one more statement we need to update. This is a statement we have taken wherein validating data elements for the data type using extended SQL code set. So further, this is the code we have to write. So public static void extend, wherein again we need to debug the right lines for the method base or the get current method what we have taken. Followed by this, we need to be updating this stream EDA stream file formats because in this file format, these are the file formats we are reading from here. Okay, directory dot get current directory with configuration followed by the kind of test plans, whatever you are updating, everything has to be mentioned in this. So this is a code we have taken especially for the statement for validating data elements and data types using extending the external code is something you need to do wherein you have to be updated if else condition for both the two things. Here you can see in the above one. Yeah, here if we have already mentioned a condition, if purchase order is valid, this is the condition will be applied. Else the purchase order is valid, handle if downstream. So if else condition we have to be updated here. At the same time, even for this statement also we have to create and we need to update these two statements. If statement we have to update for the purchase order is valid, make sure if there is any kind of error, correct context, etc. Else purchase order is valid, handling it in the downstream. So this is how generally the code which we need to write. If there is any kind of errors that are identified, everything has to be updated. This is how generally data validating elements types for EDI 837 or any of the files, whatever the X12 files we are using, everything will be used in this regard.